Imagine this. You leave a concert to go to the bathroom. They deny you re-entry. You decide to look for a ride home. In less than 2 hours, you are dead. This is the true story of Morgan Harrington, a 20-year-old student whose brutal murder in 2009 remained unsolved for 5 years until the killer made a fatal mistake and struck again. What you are about to hear is not fiction. It is the chronicle of how one October night turned into a nightmare that would connect 3 violent crimes, expose a sexual predator who hunted young women for nearly a decade, and change security laws across the United States. Welcome to the Morgan Harrington case. 90 minutes of terror, 101 days of agony, and 5 years of seeking justice. Morgan Dana Harrington was born on the 24th of July 1989 in Charlottesville, Virginia. She was a young woman who radiated light. Her friends described her as the best hugger in the world. Her family called her bright, loving, and beautiful, both inside and out. At 20 years old, Morgan was studying education at Virginia Tech with a clear dream: to become a teacher. For 5 years, she had volunteered with children who were victims of domestic violence. She spent multiple summers working at Camp Easter Seals with children with disabilities. The children were naturally drawn to her because of her warmth and authenticity. Morgan was independent with a strong and unique personality. She loved fashion, art, and above all, music. From Jerry Garcia to the Beatles, but her favorite band was Metallica. And on the 17th of October 2009, she would finally see her idols live: Dan Harrington, psychiatrist and academic dean at Virginia Tech, and Gil Harrington, oncology nurse. Her parents were doctors. She also had an older brother, Alex, who was 22 years old. It was a close-knit family, full of love. A family that within hours would experience the worst nightmare imaginable. Saturday, October 17. In 2009, Morgan woke up extremely excited. She had stuck the tickets for the Metallica concert on her refrigerator 6 months earlier. That morning, she tried on 3 different outfits before deciding what to wear. She finally chose a black Pantera t-shirt with cinnamon-colored letters, a black miniskirt, black tights, knee-high boots, and her distinctive Swarovski crystal necklace. She looked beautiful. She felt happy. She had no idea she was choosing the clothes she would die in. Morgan and her roommate met up with friends at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, 90 minutes away. Together they drove to Charlottesville. There were 4 people in total: Morgan and 3 friends. The concert would be at the John Paul Jones Arena at the University of Virginia, a venue with a capacity of 16,000 people. Morgan had been there before. Sometimes she stayed with her brother Alex, who had graduated from UVA. She knew the area. She felt safe. The group arrived around 8 p.m. The lights went out. The music started. The opening act took the stage. Everything was perfect. Morgan was living her dream. And then, in an instant, everything changed. It was 8:10 p.m. During the opening act's performance, Morgan told her friends she was going to the bathroom. It was completely normal. No one thought twice about it. Morgan left the arena and never returned. This is the detail that remains one of the most unsettling mysteries of the case. There were 18 women's bathrooms inside the John Paul Jones Arena. 18. Morgan could have used any of them without leaving the building. So, why did she leave? Did she receive a message, a call? Did someone ask her to leave? We will never know. What we do know is what happened in the next 90 minutes, and every minute counts. At 8:20 p.m., the first sighting occurred. Multiple witnesses saw Morgan outside the entrance of the John Paul Jones Arena. Morgan was already outside the venue. She was walking around the area, apparently looking for something or someone. Her friends, worried about her prolonged absence, called her cell phone. Morgan answered and told them she was trapped outside the arena. The security guards had denied her re-entry due to the venue's strict no re-entry policy. This policy meant that, once you left, you could not re-enter under any circumstances, not even if you had your ticket or if you had left by mistake. Morgan told her friends not to worry. She said she would find someone she knew in Charlottesville to give her a ride back to Harrisonburg, an hour away. Her friends offered to wait for her outside after the concert, but Morgan insisted she would be fine. This was the last time anyone who knew her spoke to Morgan Harrington. Witnesses saw her walking through the University Hall parking lot, carrying her black purse. She was surrounded by other people leaving the concert, but no one can confirm she was specifically with anyone. Morgan walked with purpose, as if she knew where she was going. Morgan was seen in the Lanigan Field parking area, near the athletic track. She had limited interactions with some individuals who later came forward or were identified by the police. These witnesses said Morgan appeared confused, perhaps disoriented. Some witnesses later reported that Morgan seemed to be under the influence of something and that her behavior was strange. Others said she simply looked like a young woman looking for a ride. Versions vary. The truth remains in the dark. The individuals who had seen Morgan left in their vehicles. The police thoroughly investigated each of them. There is no indication that Morgan left with any of them. All were ruled out. Eliminated as suspects, Morgan was now completely alone. And now we come to the most crucial moment of this entire story, the last place where Morgan Harrington was seen alive. Multiple witnesses on both sides of the Copley Road Bridge over the train tracks, near the intersection with Ivy Road, reported seeing a woman who perfectly matched Morgan's description. The witnesses were clear and consistent in their statements. Morgan was hitchhiking, giving a thumbs up and desperately looking for someone to give her a ride. She already had a visible scratch on her face. The police would later determine it was probably from a fall, not an attack. Perhaps she tripped in the parking lot. Perhaps she fell while walking in the dark. This is the last confirmed sighting of Morgan Harrington alive. It was approximately 9:30 p.m. Metallica was still playing less than a mile away. Thousands of people were enjoying the concert, and on that dark bridge, a 20-year-old college student was giving a thumbs up to passing cars. At some point after 9:30 p.m., a car stopped. Morgan got in, and that was the fatal mistake that would cost her life. On the morning of Sunday, October 18, a passerby walking through the overflow parking lot next to Lanigan Field made a disturbing discovery. It was Morgan's black purse, abandoned on the pavement. The passerby opened the purse. Inside were Morgan's ID and her cell phone. But there was something strange, something that immediately indicated this was not a simple forgetfulness. The phone's batteries had been removed. Someone had opened Morgan's cell phone and deliberately taken out the batteries. Why? Because they didn't want Morgan to be tracked. Because they knew that cell phones can be tracked even when turned off. Because this was not their first crime. A passerby immediately handed the purse over to the campus police. Morgan had not returned home as planned. She was supposed to study with her father for a math exam on Sunday. When she didn't show up, didn't answer her phone, and her friends didn't know where she was, Dan and Gil Harrington immediately knew something was terribly wrong. This was completely out of character for Morgan. She always communicated, always let people know, always called. On the 18th of October, 2009, Dan and Gil Harrington filed a missing person report. By then, Morgan had been missing for more than 40 hours. The search began immediately. Police dogs tracked the entire UVA campus using the scent from Morgan's hairbrush and toothbrush. Helicopters flew over the area with thermal cameras, and divers searched nearby ponds and rivers. On Monday, October 19, at 3 p.m., just 2 days after the disappearance, the Harringtons held their first press conference. Television cameras from across the country focused on Gil Harrington as he took the podium. With a broken but steady voice, Gil spoke directly to his daughter. "Morgan, be strong. We're trying to find you. Hold on, honey. We love you. Just hold on." It was a message of hope, but deep down, Morgan's parents already feared the worst. "We will never stop." The Harrington family used social media in an unprecedented way for 2009. They created a Facebook group that attracted nearly 35,000 people in just 1 week, launched a Twitter page, created the website findmorgan.com, and reached out to heavy metal blogs, Metallica's official fan site, the Huffington Post, and every media outlet that could help spread Morgan's story. Within days, the number of people aware of the disappearance had grown exponentially. The case gained national coverage on CNN, NBC, and CBS. Metallica posted information about the band offered a reward for Morgan on their official website and social media. Kim Stoppers offered a $100,000 reward, and Metallica added another $50,000, for a total of $150,000 for any information leading to Morgan's location and recovery. Between November 6 and 8, 2009, a massive 3-day search was organized in which 1,667 registered volunteers scoured approximately 2,600 acres. Ed Smart, the father of Elizabeth Smart, the young woman who was kidnapped in 2002 and found alive after 9 months, personally participated to support the Harrington family. In mid-November, a second search gathered 100 more volunteers who combed forests, fields, streams, and any place where Morgan could be. But none of the large-scale searches found new leads. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Winter came to Virginia, snow began to fall, and Morgan was still missing. On the 11th of November 2009, 25 days after the disappearance, a University of Virginia student named Blaine Asner was walking at the corner of Grady Avenue and 15th Street Northwest in Charlottesville, about a mile and a half from the arena, when something caught his attention. Hanging on a bush, perfectly visible from the street, was a black t-shirt. Asner approached. It was a Pantera t-shirt, the same one Morgan had been wearing the night she disappeared. But the most disturbing thing was not finding the shirt but how it was placed. The shirt was carefully displayed on the bush, as if someone had deliberately put it there, as if they wanted it to be found. Morgan's parents would later describe this placement as a trophy display, showing the perpetrator's bravado. The killer was playing with the police, showing off. The shirt was immediately taken to the forensic lab, and on that black fabric, scientists would find the key to solving this case. But it would take years to decipher that secret. On the 26th of January 2010, at 8:30 a.m., everything changed. David Bass, a 8-year-old farmer, was driving his tractor through a remote part of his 742-acre Anchorage farm in southern Albemarle County. He was inspecting fences in an isolated hayfield he rarely visited. The area was about a mile and a half from any road access. At first, Bass thought he had found the carcass of a deer. During winter, animals sometimes died in the fields, but when he stopped the tractor and got closer, the horror of realization hit him like a punch. It was not a deer, it was human remains. David Bass called 911 immediately. Within minutes, the Virginia State Police, the FBI, forensic technicians, and cadaver dogs arrived at the scene. The area was cordoned off and meticulous excavation began. The next day, January 27, the identification was preliminarily confirmed based on the clothing and jewelry found with the remains. On the 3rd of February 2010, dental records definitively confirmed what everyone feared. The remains were those of Morgan Dana Harrington. The investigation officially became a homicide case. The brutality of the crime and the location where she was found were significant. It was approximately 10 miles from the John Paul Jones Arena, in a remote area backed against a mountain with streams, fences, and difficult terrain to navigate. Lieutenant Joe Rader of the Virginia State Police stated that the choice of location indicated the perpetrator was familiar with the area. It was a high-risk location unless the area was perfectly known. There were multiple obstacles to navigate, streams to cross, fences to jump, and uneven terrain in total darkness. Police believed the perpetrator lived in the area, regularly passed through it, or had specific prior knowledge of Anchorage Farm. Morgan's body was severely decomposed. It had been exposed to the elements from October until January. More than 3 months of rain, snow, wind, and wild animals had left very little intact. Her father Dan spoke with heartbreaking frankness. What they found was a messy pile of bones, but those bones told a horrible story. The autopsy revealed that the death had been extremely violent. The parents, after meeting with the forensic experts, confirmed details that chilled the blood: multiple broken bones, including ribs torn from the rib cage. An upper arm showed a spiral fracture, the type of fracture caused when someone twists a bone with both hands with brutal force. The skull was fractured, the front teeth had been struck and were missing, and forensic evidence confirmed what everyone feared. Morgan had been raped. Morgan's parents later described her killer as violent and sadistic. Dan Harrington said in an interview, "Whoever did this enjoyed doing it. It was not just a murder, it was torture." Dan and Gil Harrington returned to the Copley Road Bridge, where Morgan had been seen hitchhiking, to an impromptu memorial. People who never knew Morgan left flowers, candles, and messages. They tied a black ribbon to the bridge. Gil looked down at the train tracks below and said something that revealed the depth of his pain. "For the first time in 101 days, I'm not thinking every minute what he is doing to my daughter now. What is he doing to her? What does she have to endure? Now I know she is at peace." In Gil's blog on the 31st of January 2010, he wrote, "We realize that Morgan has been dead for some time, perhaps even since the day of the concert, the 17th of October 2009. Morgan Dana Harrington has been at peace. Beyond pain and suffering, knowing that brings us some peace. It was also the smallest comfort amid an immeasurable loss." In April 2010, forensic tests confirmed that the Panther shirt found in November was indeed the shirt Morgan had worn that night. And on that black fabric, scientists found DNA. The DNA was immediately compared with national databases, and then something happened that completely changed the direction of the investigation. The DNA matched, but did not match any known criminal in the system. It matched evidence from an unsolved crime. The DNA on Morgan's shirt perfectly matched the DNA from a brutal sexual assault that had occurred in Fairfax City, Virginia, on the 24th of September 2005, 4 years before Morgan's murder. The details of the Fairfax case were terrifying and revealed the pattern of a serial predator. A 26-year-old woman, identified only as RG to protect her privacy, was walking home from the grocery store around 10 p.m. It was a quiet night, a safe neighborhood. Suddenly, someone grabbed her from behind with brutal force. Her attacker dragged her to a wooded area behind a maintenance shed. There, he violently sexually assaulted her. The victim fought with all her strength. She scratched her attacker, desperate to defend herself. When a passerby approached the area, the attacker got scared and ran off into the darkness. The victim was taken to the hospital immediately. The doctors performed a sexual assault kit, and under the victim's nails, where she had scratched her attacker, they found skin cells, DNA. That DNA was preserved and stored in the national database. For years, detectives waited for a match, and in 2010, they finally got one. The same man who had brutally raped a victim in 2005 and murdered Morgan Harrington in 2009. The police now knew they were looking for a serial predator, someone who had attacked at least twice and was escalating in violence. In June 2012, the FBI launched a massive multimedia campaign. Using the 2005 victim's description, they created composite sketches of the suspect. Posters were placed in 23 states along the East Coast. Metallica's lead singer, James Hetfield, appeared in a public service announcement. Morgan Harrington was one of our fans. She came to see us play and never came home. If you have information about the man in these sketches, call the FBI. The campaign generated hundreds of leads, but none led to an identification. Morgan's killer remained free and kept hunting. On the 13th of September 2014, almost 5 years after Morgan's murder, Hannah Elizabeth Graham disappeared in Charlottesville. She was 18 years old and a UVA student. This time there were surveillance cameras. The videos showed Hannah walking with a large man. They entered and exited a bar together. Hannah was never seen alive again. The man was identified as Jesse Leroy Matthew Jr., 32, a medical technician and former taxi driver. The crucial detail: the night Morgan disappeared in 2009, Matthew was driving a taxi exactly where Morgan was seen hitchhiking. Matthew was arrested on the 24th of September 2014 in Texas. His DNA matched perfectly with the DNA on Morgan's shirt, with a probability of 1 in 7.2 billion. On the 18th of October 2014, Hannah's remains were found just 6 miles from where Morgan was found. The same predator, the same hunting pattern. The investigation revealed that Matthew had been accused of sexual assault in 2002 and 2003 at 2 universities. Both times, the victims did not press charges. If they had, his DNA would be in the system. It would have been in the system. Morgan and Hannah would be alive. On the 2nd of March 2016, Jesse Matthew pleaded guilty to the murders of Morgan Harrington and Hannah Graham. Sentence: 7 consecutive life sentences. No parole, no apiao, he would die in prison. Dan Harrington said in court, "The brutality of Morgan's murder pierces each of our days. Matthew stole from our daughter her future, her potential to marry, have children, grow old." Gil Harrington stated, "The closure achieved today allows us to redirect energy toward healing. It has been a long and difficult road." Sue Graham, Hannah's mother, said, "My daughter is a hero. She helped capture a serial killer. She changed the world, but at a terrible price." In an extraordinary act, Gil Harrington embraced Jesse Matthews' mother during the trial, showing a grace beyond all understanding. In 2019, Matthew was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Gil calmly responded, "Maybe this is his karma. I am at peace with whatever unfolds." The organization Help Save the Next Girl, founded by the Harringtons, continues educating thousands of young women about safety. The Morgan Memorial Scholarship has raised over $50,000. An educational wing in Africa bears her name. Every year, Morgan's parents return to the Copley Bridge, where she was last seen. A plaque reads, "In memory of Morgan Dana Harrington, may her light continue to shine." Morgan was 20 years old. She loved music, children, life. She wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to change the world, and she did, but at a terrible price. The lessons are clear. Never separate from your friends in social situations. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Never accept rides from strangers. If you are a victim of assault, report it. You can save the next life. Jesse Matthew is serving 7 life sentences. Justice was served, but Morgan and Hannah will never come home. 90 minutes of terror, 101 days of agony, 5 years of waiting, years of searching, and an eternal legacy of hope and prevention. As Gil Harrington wrote, "In honor of Morgan, we move forward and try to help save the next girl. May Morgan and Hannah rest in peace."